Only 7 weeks ago, Bucha was a friendly and quiet suburb on the outskirts of Kyiv. But last week, humanity itself was killed in Bucha. It was killed in cold blood, executed with its hands tied and a bullet in the head. It was left to rot in the middle of the street or in mass graves. We have all seen the haunting images of Bucha. And we've heard the testimonies of those who speak freely again now that the Russian army has left. They shot everyone they saw, one witness said about Putin's soldiers. This, honourable members, is what is happening when Putin's soldiers occupy Ukraine territory. They call it liberation. No, we call it war crimes, and we really have to give it this name. The European Union has set up a joint investigation team with Ukraine to collect evidence and testimonies on the ground. We will hold accountable those who are responsible for war crimes. The perpetrators must pay. After Bucha, more than ever, Europe stands firmly with Ukraine. We stand with Ukrainians in their devastated cities and their bomb shelters. We stand with them in their parliament, surrounded by sandbags and barricades. We stand with the millions who flee the invaders. And we will do everything in our power to ensure that they can return home safely. And this is the message HRVP Borrell and I will bring to President Zelensky when we will be visiting Kyiv at the end of this week. At this critical point in the war, we must increase the pressure on Putin again and the Russian government. And this is why we propose to tighten our sanctions even further. The fifth package has 6 pillars. First, we impose an import ban on coal from Russia, worth €4 billion a year. Finally, it was high time to do this step. It's the first time that we directly sanction the import of fossil fuels from Russia, thus cutting an important revenue source. Second, a full transaction ban on 4 key Russian banks, among them VTB, the second largest Russian bank. These 4 banks, which we now totally cut off the markets, represent 23% of the market share in the Russian banking sector. This will again weaken Russia's financial system. Third, a ban on Russian vessels and Russian-operated vessels from accessing EU ports. Additionally, we will propose a ban on Russian and Belarusian road transport operators. This ban will drastically limit the options for Russian industry to obtain key goods. And the fourth and the fifth measure are import and exports. Further targeted export bans worth €10 billion in areas where Russia is vulnerable, from quantum computing to advanced technology, semiconductors, machinery, transport equipment. With this, we will continue to degrade Russia's technological base and industrial capacity. Fifth, specific new import bans worth €5.5 billion to cut the money stream of Russia and its oligarchs on products from wood to cement, from seafood to liquor. In doing this, we also close the loopholes between Russia and Belarus. And the sixth measure is very targeted measures, such as a general ban on participation of Russian companies in any kind of public procurement in the member states, or an exclusion of all financial support, be it at European level, be it at member states level, to Russian public bodies. Because, honourable members, European taxpayers' money should not go to Russia in whatever shape or form. And therefore, we have to be tough on the measures, we have to be consistent in the sanctions, we have to be increasingly, gradually stepping up. Our sanctions are hard because they limit the Kremlin's political and economic options. They are smart because they affect Russia much harder than us. And, honourable members, these sanctions will not be our last sanctions. As I said already yesterday, yes, we've now banned coal, but now we have to look into oil, and we have to look into the revenues that Russia gets from the fossil fuels, and we really have to make an effort, for example, to take a share to the escrow, to an escrow banking system, so that we will really limit the source of revenues from Russia, from fossil fuels. It has to be an end with that, and this is the next step we will have to take together. More than 40 countries are applying sanctions like these, and we expect others to respect our measures, or at the very least, not to circumvent and undermine our sanctions. And this was our message to China at our summit last Friday. We made clear how crucial it is for us in Europe, but also for the rest of the world, to take a clear stance. A clear stance against Putin's war of choice, against the massacres of civilians, against this violation of the fundamental principles of the world order. And as a permanent member of the UN Security Council, China has a special responsibility to uphold international peace and security. And nobody can be neutral when faced with such naked aggression against civilians. This is not a war limited to Europe, which Russia has unleashed. This will also define how we globally treat such violence of international law in the future, and also China has to take a clear stance on that. Honourable Members, Europe today is more resolute than ever to stand for the principles we cherish most. And to this aim, we also must protect ourselves from knock-on effects of this war. This is true for energy. We have to get rid of our dependency of fossil fuels, and for that we also have to diversify away from Russia. Building on the work of the EU Energy Council, President Biden and I have just launched another agreement, and this is threefold. First, on the supply side, the US provides us with at least additional 15 billion cubic meters of LNG gas this year. This gives us the opportunity to replace the Russian LNG this year. Second, for the coming years, we are aiming for at least an additional 50 billion cubic meters annually. This will give us the opportunity to replace at least 1/3 of the Russian pipeline gas arriving in Europe. And the third is we focus together on building a greener future with climate neutrality. The one goes with the other. We engage with our energy industry, the energy-intensive industry, to further reduce the demand. This is existential, that we look at the energy efficiency. And it is good news that the infrastructure we use for gas today can also be used to repurpose for clean hydrogen in the future. Thus, the US and the European Union have not only worked closely together on designing an effective and determined response to Russia's war, but we are also supporting each other in the transition towards a green energy. Honourable Members, in these dark times, there's one thing that truly makes me proud. People in every corner of our union have rolled up their sleeves to help our Ukrainian friends in need. Right now, more than 10 million Ukrainians are either internally displaced or seeking shelter abroad. This is a quarter of the Ukrainian population. The bulk of this work is carried out by local authorities. It's carried out by citizens. This is why we front-loaded 3.4 billion euros in cohesion funds to address the most urgent needs. This means classrooms, hospital beds, employment support in the regions that are hosting the largest numbers of Ukrainians. And here, the Polish people are amazing. The entire country is standing in solidarity with their Ukrainian guests. This is why, together with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau of Canada, we are convening a pledging event for Ukraine in Warsaw next Saturday for Ukrainian refugees in Ukraine and outside Ukraine. President Duda is joining us. We call our campaign Stand Up for Ukraine. And we'll do it together with the international advocacy organization Global Citizen. We will mobilize support for people fleeing the invasion of Ukraine. Together with us, citizens, sports people, civil society, artists like Bono, U2, Madonna or Chris, will stand up for Ukraine. They will call on governments. They will call on the business community to join our efforts. The brave people of Ukraine deserve solidarity from all around the globe. Slava Ukraine, long live Europe.
Thank you very much.